From the top, from the top.
Yeah.
Right.
For fuck's sake.
Hey, that's your fault, not mine, all right? Right.
Well, I'm going. Well, hello, and welcome to the Below the Rim show, bringing you as much up-to-date British basketball stuff. Well, not necessarily up-to-date, but accurate British basketball information, sometimes NBA. This time we're coming in. There's a few bits of news we're going to pick up, but there's a large bit of news that we're gonna go through. Let's introduce the fellas first. So, Daz, my man, how's it going?
It's going well, thank you very much. Glad to be back with Below the Rim. You know, getting the original together. You love to see it.
Ads, my man, you've been relegated. How you doing?
Hey, I'm middling. Just done a 27-kilometre bike ride, so feeling okay.
Josh, my man.
Sí, estoy bien, que tengo hambre. Estoy comiendo la pasta. I'm sorry, I'm doing all right. Just finished a bit of pasta. But yeah, let's get on this topic. Big topic we've got to talk about today.
So we're going to ultimately talk about the Manchester Giants and their decision not to retain Callum Jones, James Jones and Ingus Bankovic. News that's been not received particularly well across the basketball community, particularly in Manchester. And that is why we're going to go to my main man, Ads. First, Ads, talk to us.
I'm pissed off. As a long-time Giants fan, I'm definitely pissed off today, and for a lot of reasons, really. The thing I want to start with is that nobody seems to really know anything about the Manchester Giants anymore. They've been bought out. Nobody really knows anything about the specifics of what deal was done. Okay, now they seemingly have a general manager, Jamie Edwards. It's in the public domain that there's a director of the company. So nobody has really announced as such what's going on, and there certainly hasn't been a kind of, in this day and age, we can do like a video introduction, we can do a million and one different things to sort of introduce yourself to the fans and to the basketball public. But they've been so quiet over the last few months with the lockdown. I mean, a lot of clubs have really sort of embraced Zoom and social media and done a lot of things, but the Giants haven't really said much about anything. And the first big thing that comes out is that they aren't going to be re-signing three of the greatest ambassadors and players that they've had since returning to the BBL in the Jones brothers and in Ingus Bankovic. And the reaction has been that of shock. You only have to look through the social media pages, the fan pages, to hear just how disappointed people are. There's a lot of people going, right, okay, it's time for a clear out. Let's just start again. But there's a lot more to it for me. The statement reads that they want to go with a younger side, and there's a quote from Jamie, and it ends with, "We need to plant seeds for the future." Now, to plant seeds for the future, you have to borrow from the past somewhat. And when you have players of the caliber of Callum Jones, James Jones and Ingus Bankovic, those are seeds that need to be there to help develop the small seeds. Okay, you've got a resource that no one else has got, in that you've got three guys that are from the city that they play for, want to play for the team, and after the service that they've given to the team, have now been told that they're not going to be returning, and it's the first big announcement of the season. It just draws a complete blank with me, because if you are going to go down the route of starting again, then you've got to be looking at these guys and going, all right, James Jones, we've got somebody that he knows is at the end of his career, but has still got BBL quality basketball in him. But what James Jones has also got is a basketball brain that can help to develop younger players that come in. And if you go to a game and watch the Giants and James Jones is there, he never stops talking during the game to the other players around him on the bench, to the young guys. He's the he's the top dog basically. And for you to just get rid of that just doesn't make sense to me. Callum Jones, for me, he's a bit younger, but for me, he's still got at least 2-3 years left of top level basketball in him, no doubt. What he brings to a team is something special. In the again, he's kind of a leader. You know, he leads from the front. He's passionate. He loves playing for Manchester. And obviously, if we want to go statty, the stats are all right there as well. Okay. Ingus Bankovic, you've got a guy that consistently gives you 15 points a game. Last year, he became the main scorer. He'll start, he'll come off the bench, but again, is a great player to have around because he saved the day so many times. And then to put out a statement where you release those three players and it's in the same statement, again, just doesn't kind of sit very well for me. There's a lot of history there. Now, the biggest problem that I've got is that we see this in sports everywhere, and I hate it, but there's an ethics to sports, and loyalty is a big part of those ethics. There's business, okay. Nobody likes the business of sports anymore, but the ethics around it is an important thing that, for me, in this case, has just gone completely out of the window. You know, I'm going to have to wear my heart on my sleeve for this one. You know, I'm not going to go into this person is this, that person is that. I'm going to speak from the heart as a Giants fan who is fortunate enough to have a platform like this where we can kind of discuss it. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I've spoke to Callum and James. I'm not going to start reeling off what we've talked about and everything, but they're absolutely gutted. The way it was done, obviously, isn't a nice way to do it. Ingus, I believe, is actually in Latvia at the moment, so it was done via a phone call. So that's kind of where it's at, and I know that both those guys were probably just as shocked as the fans were to hear that news. That's where I'm at. I could go on and on, but I mean, what?
Yeah, let's
throw it out there.
Let's Daz, my man. Give us your input on it.
Yeah, for me, it's a big surprise, especially Callum. Callum is the big one for me. James, great career, storied player in their franchise. Obviously, he was out of the league for, was it 2 years, Adam? He was in Canada coaching, and maybe playing as well.
He retired as well, didn't he?
Yeah, to pursue. Was he in Alberta, Canada? I think so. Anyway, so he went away, he came back, and how important was his coaching experience on the overall input on the Giants last year, and how valuable could that be going forward? So that's my first question with him. In terms of Callum Jones, I think Callum Jones, you could put him on pretty much any BBL team, and I do mean that. Like, he is 35. So, he is nearing the end of his career, but he's still such an important and talented player that, like, I think he could have near enough the pick of where he wanted to go. And is he going to go to, let's say, Leicester, for example? Is he going to be their star player? Well, no. But, if he's looking for an opportunity, I would imagine there could be and should be for him to be... to pass on his wealth of experience. Like, he's played in this league at least 8 years, maybe longer. And he's just England international, all the rest of it. That's the big question mark for me. And of course, Ingus as well. He's got them out the fire a number of times, like you've said, Ads. And I can see him getting picked up by a BBL side. Maybe he won't have the same pick of it should he choose to, but again, you'd expect him. He would add to a BBL squad. The big question mark for me, aside from the futures for these players, is who are the kids? Who is this young talent, and where have they been? Because you look at the Giants last season in particular, and they had 6 guys going to road games and picking people up as they went and all this kind of business, which, you know, is the reality of their situation. And it's not to knock them, but it is the reality. So if you've got these young, talented players on tap, why haven't they been able to bring them in sooner, or at least have a presence of them even on the bench or anything like that in earlier seasons? I don't know. I don't know what their working relationship might be with the top Lancashire sides. Maybe are they going further afield? What comes next? The last thing I want to say is, and maybe it's contrarian for contrarian's sake. I don't think it is. And I said this 2 years ago. The best the Giants we've seen in years. They were close to the playoffs, and that looked like, from speaking to people, that looked like a Danny Byrne team. Whatever that may or may not look like, that was a team that he wanted to assemble and put together. Now, maybe this is an example of, and I've not spoken to Danny, I don't know, but of a coach saying, this is the sort of side I want for this season. Unfortunately, these 3 don't fit into those plans, and maybe we see something different. Maybe we see progress from Manchester. But the problems on the floor for them last year, they were not these 3 individuals. I will say that for sure.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Josh, my man, how you sitting with this?
Legacy. And I've said this from the day Adam told us and put it on Twitter. It's all about legacy. Going back to what you said, history, Adam, you grew up as a Giants fan, and I think it was in either the mid to late 80s, the Manchester Giants and Manchester United had a player for them called Jeff Jones. Jeff Jones decided to stay in Manchester, became a great player, then moved on to coaching. I think he helped out with the Giants in the early stages when they moved into the MEN. But when the golden days of Manchester Giants were done, Joe Forber and Jeff Jones went over to Manchester Magic and developed arguably the best academy basketball team in the country at that time. 3 players actually came out of that. All of them were Jeff Jones' children, and 2 of them happen to be 2 of who we're talking about right now. Now, when the Giants say they want to go for a younger team, they want to go for a fresh look, good luck. That is going to be a fail, because right now you have lost 2 players that are son of arguably one of the greatest players and greatest coaches that's ever embraced basketball in this country. No doubt his basketball pedagogy is passed down to them. So in other words, if it's a case you're looking at James Jones saying he's getting too old, well, that's your opinion. I still think he could play a few more years. You give him a position in the club so that he overlooks younger talent. If your idea is to bring younger players, you need someone who's been there, and done that. That is James Jones. That is Cal Jones. To move them to the side, that's very shocking. Can't say I'm very, very disappointed by it as well. But to me, it just sounds like there's more to it than what we know. That's all.
I mean, you guys can help me out with this one, but I'm led to believe that for a BBL franchise, part of the deal is that you have to have an active academy system, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And a women's team.
Right. The Manchester Giants junior teams, the under-18s, the team that seemingly wears the same uniform, uses the same logo, and nothing to do with the Manchester Giants professional basketball team. So what I would want to know is, when we're talking about young players, like you said, where are these young guys coming from? Because Manchester Giants does not have an academy. Manchester Giants does not have a filter system that filters players through to the team. Okay. There's a team that's appeared on Twitter called Manchester Eagles, and it is supposedly going to be an academy. It only has 2 followers right now: Dave Owens, obviously, and myself.
Respect to Dave Owens. I like that guy.
Yeah, anything that says Manchester and basketball in the same line, me and Dave Owens usually right on it. I can only assume, and it says that it's coming in 2021. I can only assume that this is what is to become the Manchester Giants Academy. Okay? But what I would like to say about that is one of the best academies in the country, over in Whalley Range, the Manchester Magic, have no ties with the Giants, not through lack of trying. There's a lot of connections there. But it's that whole thing again where we talked about it before, where everybody's very precious over the teams in British basketball. And I'm looking at it going, well, if they are going to start an academy, first of all, they should already have one in place if that is part of the deal of being it. You know, because tell me if I'm wrong, but there's no other team in the BBL that doesn't have.
There was one other, and they don't exist anymore. Yeah.
I mean, Plymouth have got one, right?
Oh yeah, Plymouth's got several levels.
Are we talking about academies?
Yeah.
So what I listening to the Hoops Fix owners podcast the other day was basically you're right. Most teams or all teams have an academy or structure, but they tend to be run as foundations outside of, so it's not under the direct control of the basketball club as whatever business speak that is. I don't know how much of a factor that really is. Sorry, I had to carry on.
No. I mean, I'm just sort of throwing it out there, saying as far as I'm aware, every other team in the BBL has some sort of feeder system. Giants haven't had that for a long time. It was always run as two separate things, and now it's a completely separate thing. So the Manchester Giants teams that you see on social media, the under-18s and whatever, they aren't any kind of filter system for players that are coming through. Now, the thing, Josh said the word before, legacy, right? Now, I know that we joke about the fact that I always start referring to the old days, but the words Manchester Giants used to mean something to young basketball players, okay? So when there was a youth system for the Manchester Giants, look at the players that it produced. It produced Yorick Williams. It produced Mike Bernard. It produced Stephen Gale. It produced Tony Jones. There's a lot of guys that played for the Manchester Giants.
Hey, don't forget Danny Craven.
I was going to say Danny
Craven, one of the greatest, most underrated players, of the 90s, right?
Who?
Danny Craven. Okay. These guys, but they all aspired to play for the senior team, all right? If I talk to the young guys around Manchester and ask them, do they aspire to play for the Manchester Giants? A lot of them are saying no. And that breaks my heart. And the reason they're saying no is because it just doesn't have that kudos to pull on a Manchester Giants jersey and say that you are the future of this club and that you are a prospect that's going to do what a Yorick's done or a Mike Bernard's done or a Danny Craven did and become that guy. Whereas you talk to a guy about, do you want to make it to the senior Magic side? But of course they do. It's like, I want to, play for the senior team at the age of 18 and play National League before I maybe begin my journey in the States at college or whatever. So it's almost like the Giants have become this kind of forgotten thing in terms of what the kids coming through want to do. And to say that you're planting seeds for the future, what does that mean? What does that mean? It's just an empty statement. And then to go on and there's no other way of putting it, blow smoke up the arses of the players that they've released by saying their records speak for themselves. It's just poor form, is what it is. Because it's like we said, James Jones is the first guy that you want to be talking to if you are wanting to restructure. Make him the assistant coach. James Jones is going to be a great coach one day. It's as simple as that. Josh touched on it. Jeff, one of the greats in British basketball as a player, as a coach. What his record speaks for itself. His basketball knowledge, as you say, is obviously rubbed off on his three kids, Callum, James, and Georgia, because let's not forget Georgia Jones is an elite women's basketball player that's played at the very highest level, and in a lot of ways, her achievements are even greater than Callum James's in the sense that she's got a Commonwealth silver medal. So that is a family rich in basketball. Frida, Jeff's wife, is such a huge part of the Manchester basketball community. That is a family that you cut them open and basketball falls out, basketball knowledge. And you want to get rid of that at the same time. Yeah. I just don't get it.
No. From a squad perspective, now, like you had Josh as well, probably to a certain extent, and well, even Daz. Looking back at the past, so many years in British basketball, you always had your nucleus of players that you knew weren't going to go anywhere. You had them for however long you wanted them for, to be honest with you. And I mean, Raiders have been lucky last few years. They've had Josh Wiltshire, who we'll get to soon, is obviously parted ways. Rashad Hassan is evidently sticking around. Players like that if you start the squad with players like that, moving forward, anything you add to it obviously is going to make it better. But you're under a little bit less pressure, if you like, if you start with a nucleus like that. If you start, go on, sorry.
Sorry, I was going to say, just to take your point, there's two reasons why they are so pivotal. Number one, they are British players.
Yeah.
And they are a little bit at a premium. You need X amount of British players on a roster. There's two, I don't think, is he naturalised?
Yeah, I mean, Ingus lives in Manchester. I mean, he's in Latvia right now. Maybe he was over there visiting family on the lockdown. So I'm not sure why Ingus is out there at the moment.
Yeah,
But
I'm not sure. I'm not sure his passport status, but there's at least two British players there, maybe a third. And that is a good, strong core that you can build around.
Exactly the point I was going for is that if you've already got that, you haven't got to worry about that. And I'm without being disrespectful, I'm pretty sure they're not on a huge wage structure. And if they are, they're British players and they can be exempt from the 200 grand salary cap anyway. But if you're starting with someone like or players like Callum and James and Ingus, then adding to that is it just seemed like a no-brainer. And when you see it in print, are they letting them go? Why? What are the ads? I'll ask specifically. What are the chances of a Cheshire? Because obviously that's not too far away. Would that be out of the question for Callum and James, Ingus as well to play for somebody like a Cheshire Phoenix?
I'll give James Bryce a phone call right now. He's my best mate, so.
It's a different situation for each guy. I think in terms of what they've got left as players, Callum is obviously the hottest property because Callum still has, I think, 2 to 3 years of Callum Jones basketball in him. He's in great shape. He's not showing any signs of aging, if you want to put it that way. So certainly, if he wanted to play in the BBL, Cheshire's not far. Sheffield, is 30 miles away. It's a pain to get to, but again, it's not far. And I'm sure that the coaches of those teams will have probably put in a text message at some point to Callum. James has obviously retired once and he's come back. So, whether James wants to make that move to another BBL team at this stage in his life, because James has got a young family, he's got beautiful twins, he's got a wife, his home is in Manchester, he works as Callum does and Ingus does. So is he going to want to, put that pressure on himself personally to travel to Cheshire for practice or Sheffield and then do what he needs to do as a pro player? So I don't know about James. Ingus, I think he said it plenty of times. He knows he's kind of getting to the end of his career. Ingus gets a lot of people talking about he's overweight, he's out of shape, this, that, and the other. But Ingus is this. He's a weird player because he does come into the season looking at kind of overweight, and by December he's starting to look more in shape. But the guy will give you. If you look at his stats, Ingus will give you 15 points a game, whatever he's doing. And then he'll give you 30 points if need be.
And a game winner.
Yeah, and a game winner. Will he be, the sort of guy that other teams want? Maybe Cheshire would. Again, maybe Sheffield would want to use a player like that. But again, Ingus is settled. He's got a family in Manchester. Does he want that commitment? So in terms of the three of them, I think that Callum is the one that potentially we may see carry on playing the BBL somewhere. I hope we do. I really hope we do, because I think that for both of them to have their BBL careers end this way is just not cool. I mean, you look at things like, I really like what the Chicago Bulls did for Luol Deng.
Yeah.
They gave him a 10-day contract so he could finish as a Chicago Bull.
Yep.
That's a good move. that is the sort of thing that sports just doesn't have enough of anymore, you know. And you kind of look at it as, all right, there's a new owner at the club. Danny's going to be staying as the head coach. Is this their first statement of, there's a new kid in town, we're going to clear everything out and we're going to start again? Okay. If this was London and Vince was still the head coach, or this was Leicester and Rob was the head coach, but there was new owners that did that, you go, okay, not over the moon that we're losing these players, but they're having to clear out. But, you know, these are coaches that have got a lot of experience, they've won, they know what's going down. Okay, we accept it. But when you're going from a season with 0 victories, because the team was just in disarray from day one, in terms of the games, the practices, everything, to say, right, we're going to have a clear out and start again, it's a bit cocky for me. Maybe they've got something up their sleeve. Who knows? We know that Mike McCall isn't an option because he's just signed to go out and play in Luxembourg. I think it's come out today.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, if they're wanting to dig into the past and make another move to bring Willie Clayton back, you know, great move. But that team that everyone gets so sort of nostalgic about because it was such a great team, it wasn't just about Willie Clayton. It was about Willie, Mike, Vlatko Granic, and Tory Butler. But with Callum Jones and Ingus very much part of the plan, and James there until he got injured, to make that amazing team that should have done what they should have done and got into the playoffs. You know?
No,
so
absolutely.
It just leaves me sort of saying, well, you know, who are you going to sign? Have you got a pot of money? Is the owner of the club an investor with big pockets? You know, nobody knows. Are they still going to be playing at the George Carnell Leisure Centre next year?
I guess this is things we're all going to find out. Josh, we'll wrap things up on this one. But Josh, I'm interested in terms of we're talking a lot about family, and Ads has got the T-shirt on there as well. Family, the family Jones. But we're talking about basketball family. Now, you obviously have grown up with various members of the Thames Valley Tigers. One is obviously your godfather, Scance, and a number of others. Have you experienced anything like this? I mean, how does this sit with stuff you've seen yourself in terms of somebody who is like family to the club and you're gone, you're out?
I mean, it happened to my dad in 1997 at Thames Valley, but that was for right reasons. I mean, Paul James stepped in and did a good job, and then the only thing I could say where it happened where I was very surprised was the year that my dad was going to be the assistant coach in London Towers, he was going to be assistant coach under Kevin Cadle. And then I think a month later, he gets a phone call from a guy called Rick Taylor or some, I can't remember who it was, to say Kevin's not going to be the coach next year, which we were very surprised because where I'm going to go with this is, and going back to what I was talking about with Jeff Jones and sort of includes the academy, is you look at some of the Americans that have come to this country and sort of the imprint they've had on the cities that they've either played or coached in. Kevin Cadle and Alton Bird were the face of London basketball. They went more so down the media stream of things, but they also did a lot of good things in terms of coaching and producing young players. Jimmy Guyman, anybody know that name? Yeah. Jimmy Guyman still lives in Southampton. He was the face of Solent basketball for years, and he did a great job there. Rob Paternoster played in Birmingham. Now he's in Leicester, but you could sort of associate him with the Midlands. Fab Flanoid imprinted himself at Newcastle all the years, even though he started at Birmingham and then he played 1 year at Sheffield. But for now, going back to Jeff Jones, it's like, you're right, there's really no comparison I can make, Pablo. But the only thing I can just say is that Jeff Jones has now gotten older, but now his kids should be the ones taking over. So when you talk about all these cities having been imprinted on these Americans that have come to this country and done such wonders for the British game, Alton Bird, God rest his soul, the great Kevin Cadle, one of the, if not the greatest basketball coach in the history of British basketball, Jimmy Guyman, and now you've got Rob Paternoster and now Flanoid in Toronto. The fact that now there won't be any sort of Jones associated with the Manchester Giants of the future, no, I can't say there's any comparison. I think it's really a sad time for British basketball. And I'll say it again. I know this will rub people the wrong way. You've just lost 2 assets that could help for the future. And now you're going to have to rely on some coaches that will walk in with CVs and hopefully will have a level 2 on their CV.
Well, we'll move. Unless there's anything else anybody wants to add on that, we'll move on.
I just want to pick up Josh's point there about Jimmy Guyman. Who's Jimmy Guyman's son? Matt Guyman. The family dynasty is going strong right now with the Solent Kestrels. Obviously, a bit of a family Jones affair, but down on the south coast. So, just thought it's interesting.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, the only other point I want to raise on it as well is that the Manchester Giants fans are gutted about this. They are absolutely gutted. You only have to be at the game at the end. You know, all BBL clubs do it. The kids run on, they get their autographs and the selfies. The crowd around Callum Jones after the game is the biggest crowd. Even when you had Willie and Mike McCall, the kids gravitate towards Callum Jones. He's the guy that you see the kids with the name on the shirt. He's the guy who, when they do the own and loan thing where you can buy the player's jersey at the end of the season, Callum's is gone straight away every year, okay? He's like that kind of Pied Piper that you need, okay? And he keeps kids wanting to go because he's so accessible and he's so willing to talk to him. You know, I've seen the Giants get blown out in games by 30 points, and Callum will happily then chat to the fans, you know, adults, kids, do selfies, do pictures, and just show what a professional sportsman is all about. And, you know, the way he conducts himself is second to none. He's an exemplary guy. And that's what the fans are going to miss, especially with Callum James. You know, Ingus has been around for so long as well. He's, you know, everybody knows Ingus. You know, I see him around refereeing a lot. He does a lot of Spinners games refereeing. You know, these are popular guys that have been taken away from the club and the fans. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to say is that with all the comments, there's obviously going to be negative comments that go on there. And this is something that pisses me off in all of basketball, and I've seen other clubs do it as well, is that when somebody dares to make a point that is potentially upsetting to those who've made this decision, it's removed from social media. Now, I just can't get up with that. Unless somebody is posting something that's just out and out abusive or racist or personal, get it off there if you need to, all right? Do not take off comments from fans that have an opinion. And I'm led to believe that a few comments have been removed. And I know that comments in the past have been removed from Giants platforms. And I don't think that's fair because, you know, you can't have it where all you're getting is the positive comments and whatnot. You've got to be, you know, it goes back to what we talked about on that show at the start of the lockdown, where if you are in professional sports, you have to be willing to accept criticism and not be offended by it, you know. And I'm said already, I'm wearing my heart on the sleeve, and I know that if Jamie Edwards sees this show or Danny sees it, they might take umbrage to a lot of things that we've said here, you know. But like we've said before, that's what sports is all about. We're here to talk about something we're passionate about. And then by all means come back and counteract it and let's talk about it. But to put statements out and then just not do anything after that.
I've got one. I've got 2 things. Number one, when you talked about things being taken down, do you guys remember a player called Brian Bolser?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He got temporarily blocked from the England basketball Facebook page, history page.
Oh, really?
Does anyone know
No
what
one
that was
knows
for?
why.
Yeah, no one knows why.
It was bizarre. But he got reinstated, so it's a bit... I don't know what it was about. Well, no. Again, I know... I mean, I've had it a lot. I've had a lot of people message me and call me some words I can't repeat on this show, obviously, because it will go public. But as I've said before, I don't want people to get the impression that Josh Bett is anti-Manchester Giants. Josh Bett doesn't like the Manchester Giants. No, I love the Manchester Giants. In fact, I watched that game all the time when Terrell Myers hit the winner in 1999. But the point... The point is...
You are such a jerk. You're a jerk.
Well, the point I was trying to make was this, right?
I'm gonna get Tony Dorsey on you.
Oh, all right. The point I was trying to make was this: is that look, Danny Byrne, I do have a lot of respect for him. I've never met him, but the fact is, you are coaching the BBL, and if you get to that level, I've got respect for that. And Jamie as well. I mean, I've never met them, but if they are going to watch this show, guys, come on the show and talk with us. Like, we're not here to bash you. Like, we're generally just basketball advocates who. Adam is diehard Manchester Giants. He was there in the Uniball Trophy in '99 when my dad's London Towers beat them by 1 point because Phil Handy couldn't shoot the ball. Pabs, and I was on the bench with the Towers. Pabs is a Brighton Bears fan who can only celebrate about going to Wembley in the '90s and winning. But, you know, Danny Byrne and Jamie, please, we don't dislike you. We're not anti-Manchester Giants. Please come on Below the Rim and discuss with us. Let us know what your plans are for the future. And we'll be happy to talk about it. And you can say what you want to me, it's fine, but this is what we're here for. But don't try and paint a picture that everything's going to be perfect. You know, whatever decisions you're going to make, there's going to be ridicule, there's going to be controversy, but that's why we're here to discuss it, of course. But remember that Phil Handy is the coach of the NBA and couldn't get a shot off in '99 when the Towers won the Union.
No, this isn't a witch hunt. But, you know, I love the Manchester Giants brand. If it's a brand anymore, I love that Manchester Giants brand right there, you know. And it's just as a fan that, you know, I'm a Manchester Giants fan. I want the team to succeed. I want them to win. I want them to win championships. But I just think that the fans and the legacy just deserves more. Okay, and I know it's early days. It's under new ownership, but you know, tell us something. Tell us what's going down. Don't just put a statement out saying that you're removing 3 of the most popular, you know, important parts of the team and then disappear again.
Absolutely. Let's move on. And like Josh said, if you want to come on the show and talk to us, just we're right there on Twitter. Give us a shout. It's quite simple.
Yeah.
I will say, having interviewed Danny a couple of times, he's awesome to interview. He's always a really brilliant, honest interview who'll give you a load of time. So yeah, I think we're all really interested to see what happens going forward. And I personally do wonder if this could end up being a real different but positive time for Manchester Giants. I appreciate for fans, it doesn't seem like it necessarily because your favourite players are going, and I fully respect and appreciate that. But like I said earlier, you know, is this the time for Danny to, you know, have his team and see where he takes it? So intriguing. We should look forward to the next season started. We'll go on to it. There's a couple of new signings and things we should talk about. First, which the new signing of the BG 4500 basketball. Coming to the BBL, a new version of the model. Was anybody actually got one of these? Has anybody touched one? No.
No. Hang on. Somebody messaged me the other day saying that they just bought one. And I said, I didn't even know they brought out a new ball. Are they bring a new ball out every year?
No, it's every 3 or 4.
What's different about the new one?
Grippier.
It does look. He's got lots of novels on it in the picture.
Yeah, more grip. More grip. I think they might have a few more panels. It's been a little bit since I read the press release, to be honest. It looks all right. It looks like a basketball. So hopefully
it does look.
Logo.
It's the.
It's got a logo of every BBL team on it as well.
Has he really?
Actually.
Oh, has it?
Oh yeah, no, that's the special edition one, isn't it?
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm just winding you up.
No, there is one with all like different logos.
I'll wound myself up then.
Yeah. Right, in terms of player signings, then, first up, Raiders agree to release Josh Wiltshire for the remainder of his contract, which obviously he had one season left, 1 year left on his contract due to family reasons. Although it seems he's not going to leave the country, so he may well move to a different BBL club. We'll see how that turns out. But We'll go Daz, my man. Daz, how does this affect the Raiders moving forwards?
Badly. You'd expect, at least, because that guy's been the beating soul of that team for a little bit now. Yeah, I can't see this being an ultimately positive thing for the Raiders, given how important he's been. Like their best ever season, they make it to the semi-finals. He plays basically 40 minutes a night.
40 minutes a game. Him and
Dante.
Dante.
And so yeah, it's going to be a big loss. But Paul James is a very experienced coach, very good coach, very good recruiter as well. So and there was a lot of player turnover last season at the Raiders. It felt like very in transition team. Obviously, you got the new owners, so I expect quality to come in. But Josh Wiltshire, he's a pretty special player.
Incredibly, it was a very guard-heavy roster at one stage, and
yeah,
he went suddenly from playing 40 minutes a game to 20, 25 minutes a game. When you, like you say, the beating heart of the club, you expect him to be out there a bit more. Josh, what's your opinion on this one?
When did Paul James first join the Plymouth Raiders?
2 years ago.
Yeah, after Gavin Love, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's 17-18 or 18-19?
Before 18-19.
Okay, so Josh Wiltshire joined the Plymouth Raiders in the 14-15 regular season of the British Basketball League. The year before that, he was with the Reading Rockets. And I think that Reading Rockets team, I know this is going to really upset a lot of people. I honestly think that Reading Rockets team, with the Spanish coaches and Spanish players they had, were better than the current Solon and Kestrel's team that we have. Because they had Josh Wiltshire as point guard. They had Spanish small forward, I can't remember his name, Gabby something, Dan Carter. So that team I thought was going to go to the British Basketball League. And then Josh Wiltshire went to Plymouth Raiders the year after that. But the guy that he was playing for, what was the name of the coach in 2000? That was like the worst couple of years for Plymouth Raiders, because they supposedly had a lot of resources, but they had like something between 20 to 30 people come in and out the club. But he's been, in my mind, probably one of the best signings they've had in a long time. What's he very good at? Well, he's a very strong tempo point guard. He likes to play in transition. He can also shoot the ball very well. He can handle the ball under pressure. From speaking to a couple of coaches that have worked with him, one thing they say that's really good about him is that he's very dynamic. And you hear this a lot with professional players. A lot of professional players might be good or superstars under one coach and then struggle under the next because their needs are a lot different. But the thing what I've heard about Josh Wiltshire is he is such a basketball brain-oriented person that he's able to adapt to different coaches and sort of play that role. But also, because he can shoot the ball, he can play on any team. So, yeah, I mean, again, we hear this news. We don't really know what's behind it. I mean, we can only speculate. But from just seeing what's actually happened, the definitive side of it, that he's gone, I think that's not good.
That's my man.
I mean, I'm everything that the guys have said. I'm a big Josh Wiltshire fan. I thought he was, he is, like you sort of Callum Jones player down there. He's the heartbeat of the Plymouth Raiders. I really love his game. He's not a big guy, but man, can he get around the court. He distributes the ball great. He shoots great. And he's one of those sort of infectious players that makes players around him better. So yeah, I'm sad to see him go. I really hope that he does, play in the BBL again. I think he's a great guy, great player that did a lot for you guys. So I hope we see more of him.
No, absolutely. Sad news. As a Raiders fan myself, very sad news to see that he's moving on. But wish him well. That story as well of him when he goes and plays, he comes over from Australia and plays for Reading. He was, at that stage he was already full of injuries, and he really backed himself. I want to say he wasn't being paid for that season. He was literally playing for a contract for the following season, and that's when the Raiders picked him up. I think they played pre-season, and he wiped the floor with whoever the guard was for the Raiders that season, and they picked him up straight off. So wish him well. I'm sure we can get him on the show, to be fair. He's a nice guy. He likes to chat. But we'll move on Next one is a big one, and you know it's a big one because it's not just his name that's there. Connor Washington signs, but not just Connor Washington, GB's Connor Washington. So you know he's a big deal. He's back. How do we feel about that one? Daz, my man.
Oh, very happy. He's a fantastic player. I can't wait to see what he's able to do, what he's learned from another trip to Europe. And he's certainly going to help that Leicester Riders team. So very excited to have Connor Washington back. Hopefully they're able to keep hold of him for a couple more seasons. Maybe with the Lions in Europe. We're not getting into that today, but Lions in Europe, maybe there's more impetus for more European basketball from this island. And maybe that will keep him longer term. But very happy.
Josh, my man?
Yeah, the experience abroad playing in Hungary and playing in Germany, I think will be very good for him, of course. And I think, he's now at the prime of his career. I think he's a year younger than me. That makes him 29 years old. I remember him really coming through the ranks at Leicester, being at Worcester and seeing him play quite a lot. And I think that's what Leicester Riders need to get back on top. I think Leicester were a good team this year, but I don't mean this in any bad way because I think, Leicester Riders is a team that can, have one season a bit off the rail, but they'll bounce back very easily. And sort of having a player like Connor Washington run the show for you as the main point guard, I think when the season kicks back off, whenever it does, they're going to be in great shape because they've got a great point guard again.
Absolutely. Ads, my man.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge Connor Washington fan. I was sad to see him go, but obviously it was a good move for him to go play in Europe. But it's like we said, the big thing is that we have a GB player playing in the BBL, which is huge. Having as many GB players in the league as possible is something that we constantly talk about in terms of building the profile and the following for Team GB. So yeah, I think it's a great thing. I can't wait to see him play. He's one of the great guys as well. He's such a nice guy, very, very humble, a very, very nice guy indeed. But such an exciting player, and I think that they really missed him last season. I think that I was really excited. I liked what was the point guard they had called?
Karen Cartwright.
Oh,
Yeah. I saw him in Manchester, and I was like, "Whoa, this guy's tasty." But I don't know. Maybe it was Connor's leadership, his experience. Who knows? I mean, the guy's got 10 trophies or something. Connor Washington. He's a great player.
What do you think this means in terms of the backcourt there? What do you think it means for Jordan Spencer? Are we going to see him move around? I've not seen any news about him. Do we think that he stays at the Riders and they work something out together?
I mean, could you have a backcourt of him and Cartwright with Spencer playing the two, if that even exists anymore? I'd be interested to see it because, I mean, I was thinking about this whilst we've been speaking about Connor. Like, how far away is Jordan from looking at a GB call-up at some point?
Yeah.
Surely he must be knocking on the door a good domestic season from him. And who's to say he's not going to be in the picture for GB? So what does it mean for him? I'm not too sure. I think he'd be a great addition to the Lions as they go on to Europe. Backcourt of him and JR with Andre Lockhart, maybe, if Andre signs again.
Won the championship.
He did. Yeah. It absolutely did. So, you'd be mad. If you had opportunity to sign Jordan Spencer, you'd be absolutely balmy not to take it.
Absolutely. Anyone else got any points on that one before I move on?
Nope, good signing. Happy days. Glad he's back.
So the next one, the more I read into this, the more I think it's once again that Sheffield-Manchester rival thing, and it's Sheffield showing you kind of how to treat their 12th season of classic Mike Tuck. They're not cutting him, they're bringing him back. The Canadian, and English, I guess, legend is coming back to Sheffield for his 12th season. It was going to be his testimonial season this season, but obviously that was cancelled due to the COVID outbreak. It will be happening next season at some point. How do we feel about this? Josh, we're going to you first, Josh. How do you feel about my main man, Mike Tuck, coming back?
Well, let's say in the last 3 weeks, I've been in contact with Mike Tuck probably every other 2 days, because in 2 days I'll be uploading the Sheffield Sharks history video, and I got to tell you that he's a top fella. Since seeing Mike play in the BBL, the first time I saw him play was at Surrey Sports Park in 2013. I think he's fantastic. He's a 6'7" power forward that can also play center. He shoots the ball extremely well, but his basketball IQ and movement in and around the paint is second to none. I mean, he's just a very, very good player. I'm excited to see him come back and play another year. Nothing about Mike Tuck, what I think is great is I think he's got a great future in broadcasting. He does a lot of work with the NBA on Sky Sports. I see him doing a lot of work there. And I just think he's got a great future, whether he decides to stay full-time in the UK or go back to Canada. I think he'll be great. What I know from Mike Tuck is when he was thinking about going back to Canada, I told him that my dad was assistant coach in I guess I'd call them, no, they are in the top league in Canada. So he was still looking to play. So again, I called up the old man. So I've got this guy from Canada. Well, there's this guy from Canada that's coming back home that wants to play. So I don't know where that went. But I think it's great to see him back. I think he's been the face, along with the Tiva Lions. Their partnership, coach and player. They weren't maybe they were teammates for once, I can't remember. But just their foundations for Sheffield basketball have been fantastic. So yeah, great to have him back for another year.
That's my man.
Legacy. It's that word again. Legacy. Great player, great guy. You sometimes think about, we've talked a lot about legacies and nostalgia and whatnot. And you always sort of worry about bringing guys back for that one last season, just in case it doesn't pan out the way they want it to finish and they don't finish on a high in terms of how they play on court. But with Mike Tuck, I can't see any reason why he's not going to be a key part of that team again. Simple as that.
That's my man.
Yeah, same as Ads. Brilliant player. He still has a lot to offer that team. He's not going to be playing 40 minutes a night, but he will do what he needs to do. He's going to be a brilliant ambassador for the Sharks. And yeah, like Ads is saying about legacy, about nostalgia, Sheffield fans want to see Mike Tuck playing basketball as long as Mike Tuck's able to play basketball at the standard. So if it's doable, if it works for everybody, why not? Though, could we see him be the face of the franchise at the Ottawa Jackrabbits one day in the future? Who knows?
I heard he gets into any club he wants in Sheffield as well. No, I'm honestly, I've been told by people that he's so familiar around Sheffield that he was walking in the shopping centre one day and like the captain of Sheffield Wednesday was with him. And apparently people went up to Mike Tuck to ask an interview and then went to the Sheffield Wednesday to play and say, "Are you his PR agent?"
Listen, I'm pretty sure Mike Tuck will be on Q Jump at the Roxy, no problem. Is it still the Roxy up there? I don't know. We'll have to get some Sheffield people. Tell us. There is one more thing. Lions, of course, are throwing their hat in the European ring as such. Terrible choice of words. I'm sure we're all on board with that one. It's going to be exciting to see that unfold. The Basketball Champions League. When is that starting, Josh?
So the Basketball Champions League Final 8 it's supposed to resume, I believe, late September, early October. Could be wrong, I'm not sure. I guess with the following season, I guess we're just waiting to see how things pan out with what's going on in the current world. But this is a great opportunity for British basketball because this is now going to be I think it's going to be the 5th season of the Basketball Champions League. So I started broadcasting in 2016 with the Basketball Champions League, and it's only got better and better every year. And if you think about, take Leicester, for example. I don't think anybody can look at Leicester's sort of run at it and then in the FIBA Euro Cup and really give it any sort of criticism, because that was the first time a British team had played in Europe since, I think, the Guildford Heat in 2000 and I think it was 7, 8, sorry. So what needs to happen now is the Lions have to prepare themselves as best they can, because they're going to go up against teams possibly such as Hapoel Tel Aviv. They're possibly going to go up against some other teams that are fighting for the same spot in Europe that have very, very deep benches. So they're going to have to give this everything they can. If it doesn't work out, okay, and I hope it does, because we'd all like to see a team in the BBL play at that level, then it can't just be like, well, we tried, let's give it up now. Someone else has got to do it next year. It's going to keep happening year in year, because you can't just throw it one year and say, or we tried, we're still behind, it's too much effort, got to keep going. So I know people in the camp, at the Lions camp, are trying to prepare as best as possible. I know it's going to be very tricky seeing the current sort of climate we're in globally at the moment, but it's a great competition to be a part of, and it's just fantastic basketball to watch.
We'll give Daz the last word on this. Well, Ads, my man, you looking forward to this Basketball Champions League?
Definitely. I mean, is London announced anything roster-wise that I've missed? I mean,
no, nothing just yet.
Nah, I mean, do we know any? Have we got any Obi Soko gossip?
Not that I'm aware of.
Isn't there something online saying that he's happy playing in London, I think?
Quite possibly.
That he's what?
He's happy playing in London.
I thought I saw something
it works
online.
for him really well.
Yeah, but I thought I read something on the lines of post Love Island. Life is great, and I think it works playing in London. I can't remember. I could be wrong, but I think it would probably do Obi Soko. I mean, I don't know what his situation is. I mean, obviously we would love to see him, but I think lines going really well for him as well.
Yeah, completely.
I think it would be such a great thing for him to play another season. I mean, it's sad that what happened last season what happened in the world, you know. But I think that Ovi was just starting to really get warmed up, you know, as a player. All the hype from being on the TV show had sort of died down for him, and he was sort of locked in on playing. And the thing that made me really happy about watching him play last year for London and for GB is the fact that I think he was under a lot of pressure to actually prove that he was as good a basketball player as people had heard he was. And certainly in that last GB game up in Newcastle, he was sensational. He was awesome. And he's had a couple of great performances for London. So I think that it would be a great thing for London and a great thing for the league for another year of Obi Soko.
And also, don't forget as well with Obi Soko, he's got a lot of experience in the Basketball Champions League. In 2017-18, he was one of the main players that, along with, I can't remember the other player's name, was Victor Benite, that took them to the Final Four and almost beat the champions at the Walker in front of 20,000 Ike fans. The following season was probably, for me, I think it was the 18-19 season for Cam Murthy. That is when I officially saw Obi Soko become the bus driver for Cam Murthy. So you've got a player that you definitely need on that team. Let's hope he's there. And going into the Basketball Champions League, he definitely knows what to expect. So he can definitely sort of pass on that knowledge and sort of that experience to other players. Because let's not forget, you've got a game Tuesday, Wednesday. You've got some traveling fans from Lithuania, possibly from France and Israel or Greece, wherever they're coming from. You could possibly get a big crowd at London. And the place like the Copper Box, it needs that kind of atmosphere.
And Desmond, man, obviously looking forward to it coming up. But do you think this is a long-term thing? Do you think this isn't like a one-off flash in the pan? This is something that the Lions are now going to seek to try and do every year?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. This has been Vince McCauley's big aim for years. Is get London basketball, get British basketball back into Europe. You know, when Leicester did it a couple of years ago, he was a big supporter of that. He was very much in favour of it. He was commentating the games. And I listened to friend of basketball in this country, Niall Gray. He did a really good podcast with Vince the other day, really hot on the presses. And Vince was talking about what they were able to learn from Leicester and Leicester's experience, and exactly what Josh is saying. It's the amount of people being present. Sorry, the amount of people being present. Vince is thinking that he can sell out the Copper Box here. And I don't know if you guys were at the GB Greece International a couple of years ago at the Copper Box, but that was the best atmosphere of a basketball game I think I've ever seen. Maybe that in Leicester, again, for Greece. So, you know, there is potential. London is full of Greek people, Lithuanians who love their basketball. You know, they can really pack out that place. Travel's going to be tough. As Leicester learned. And I think that was possibly the biggest learning curve for Leicester was, again, as you're saying, Josh, playing midweek, playing at the weekend. And it really threw them for that early part of the season. But that was a real close title race when it all came down to it. Lions obviously coming out on top. So is this long-term? Yeah, you bet it's long-term because it's been a long time coming. At least 5 years. Talking to Andre Lockhart earlier. Since Andre joined the Lions, all he's heard from Vince is, we're going Europe. We're going Europe one day. Somehow it's going to happen. Justin Robinson elevated them that extra level when he came in 3 years ago now. Ovi Soko, he's added to that. Player I want to see come back is Boy Touch. Oh boy, he's so fun, so exciting. Could you see him in Europe? I certainly can. Josh talking about Ovi's playing Europe. His best basketball, arguably, has been in this competition. His highest average, I think, is in this competition. It was over 12 points per game, I think, last season. And then, ads like you were saying, he was starting to get it cooking in London. Maybe some of the pressure had lifted off his shoulders a little bit. But also, this Lions team was a little bit up and down. It was a little bit disjointed at times this year as Vince was working personnel, getting it all together. And Ovi Soko is going to be a big part. If he comes back, and I've not heard anything one way or the other, if he comes back, he's going to be a pivotal part of that. But one thing is his schedule will likely have to change because BCL and BBL, that is a big time commitment for players. So we're going to see maybe even more locked in Ovi Soko. And that's not a knock on him, you know. He's a guy that's doing amazing things media-wise. You know, he was on Bake Off, lads. He was on Bake Off. Like, the pinnacle of British television, if you were to ask my wife and her best mate, and he was there. So, very, very positive for British basketball. Very, very positive for London Lions. And for the city of London itself. Why not?
Well, there we are. I think that's everything we've got to bring up on this show. Thanks, fellas. Thanks, Ads, Daz, Josh. We will be back, no doubt. Take it easy. We'll speak to you soon.